It's Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by my good friend and the voice of British boxing. Are we still allowed to call you that? Is it copyrighted? I'm not sure, but it's Adam Smith.
Danny, you can call me what you like. A friend is nice. We've known each other for ever, and we've had some experiences along the way. And it's a pleasure to talk to you as always. Yeah, it's great being back involved in the sport I love, and it's fantastic to see your face. You're a familiar and brilliant journalist, reporter, whatever you are, man of boxing. So yeah, it's great to know that we have that experience that goes back a long way, and I think that's yeah, it's in us, isn't it?
Great stuff. And Adam, we'll talk to you more of your pundit's hat on in due course. But from a GBM Sports point of view, the latest big show on the zone, December the 7th. Um, if you could pull out a couple of key reasons why GBM Sports have exploded in the last year in the way they have, what would they be?
Teamwork, passion. That's two. But if you want two names, Izzy Asif and Mitch Costello. They're the maestros behind it. Izzy, the amazing, infectious, charismatic front man who everyone seems to love and be around, and he's just fantastic and all in. And Mitch doesn't get the credit really because he's behind the scenes. I guess a little bit like Frank and George or Eddie and Frank Smith. Mitch Costello is the guy that puts all this together. He weaves it, his magic. He's a young man. I've got a personal relationship with him because his father worked with us at Sky Lee, who unfortunately died way too young, and Mitch was a little boy, and he sort of grew up and our paths again crossed earlier this year, which was fantastic. And yeah, I've watched what GBM do behind the scenes. There's some young, creative talent. There's a huge amount of willingness to become a real force in in the promotional world. GBM don't see themselves as small hall; they see themselves as a big experience. And yes, aware of the fact that it's a slightly lower level, I guess, than what's happening in Saudi or maybe some of the bigger British shows like your Fayed was this weekend or Natural Prograde. But the matches are excellent. You 55-45 sort of all the way down the top half of the card and a few prospects as well. And I think what's really good about GBM is that the fighters love being on GBM, the fans love coming. So yeah, it's a sort of winning formula. It's gaining momentum. I think it looks fantastic when you arrive into a GBM show and you get that feel from start to finish. So yeah, something's working, but I think it is. I think it's passion, dedication, and good people.
You mentioned Riyadh season shows there, and they've obviously taken a lot of the big domestic fights, particularly at heavyweight, a lot of the big domestic names rather going on those shows. With that being the case, how much of an opportunity is there now for the likes of GBM Sports to really take over the UK market?
There's a real opportunity. I mean, Matchroom, Queensbury, Boxer, Wasserman. There's still many other big shows around Britain, and of course, Top Tier and Jamie Conlon's and many other sort of smaller halls. Steve Goodwin, Steve Wood, all of these guys who do a fantastic job up and down the country and don't really get the credit. But Izzy's really ambitious. He dreamt of this. He's been in boxing a long time. He was a fighter, cricketer before that. He's got a great backstory. And he's been pretty honest with what he wants to do, and that's he wants to be up there with Eddie and Frank. He respects them, and he looks up to Boxer, to Matchroom, to Queensbury, to the Saudi arrangement, what Turkey Al Sheikh's done, the amazing work that they've done over the last year or so. But he's also seen that Sheffield, Yorkshire, Britain need shows. Obviously, Sheffield is the sort of the centre for GBM, but we've had trips to the Midlands, trip down to York Hall in London. We sort of try to get around the country. We're hoping to get to Ireland with Kieran Malloy. It's tough. It's tough with with the finances needed for these shows. You know that going up and down the country and around these sort of smaller enterprises, I guess it's really hard paying the fighters and making sure you sell the tickets and maybe not having the TV money that you want and all of those sort of things. But we're lucky enough to have had really good support from TalkSport on their YouTube channel. And then a really good move with DAZN, Mike Ridout and his team who are supporting us, which is fantastic. We've had a couple of shows on DAZN, and we're really looking forward to finishing the year off in style. It's been a changing year for GBM 2024. I think we've got a pre-Christmas cracker to finish things off on December the 7th. It's a fantastic one. A storm is coming. And then everyone will have a nice festive season. And I hope 2025 will be a real breakthrough for GBM. If this has been the building year, I think next year is the year to explode.
And you've worked closely with the likes of Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, Ben Shalom. What qualities do they share with Izzy Azif, and how does he stand out from them? How is he different?
That's a really good question. I think they're all different. Ben's really bright. Probably the most recently I worked with at Sky. Eddie and I, of course, worked for a decade together, and I just worked off his charisma and his enthusiasm and passion and knowledge for the sport. So they're different. Ben's got his own qualities. Eddie's got his. Frank, we worked together for many, many years. When I was a bit younger, but I've kept very close to Frank and George. And I think Frank is fantastic at bringing fighters through. I think he's absolutely brilliant as a sort of matchmaker. He had Dean Powell and some really great people behind him, Ernie Draper, Ernie Fossey in the early days. And I think he's always been very good at knowing when to go with fighters and how to match them and how to bring them through. I don't think there's anyone better than that. Eddie is a natural promoter, as we know. Son of Barry, but even sort of more than Barry, he's been fantastic. And Ben's got amassed a great stable. He's got a fantastic platform with Sky. Really nice guy and very bright, very smart, young entrepreneur. So they're all different. And I love the Salons to that as well. Kala and Nissa, who I guess they've been the sort of Kofi Annan, haven't they? The sort of, the Swiss model, really, in a way. They've been sort of
I'm sure they'll
the
love that.
neutral guys, working with everybody, and very important to the business as well. But steeped in history with their dad and everything that he did in Germany. I think Izzy is a bit different. I think probably the most like Eddie, I think, of all of them. I think he reminds me a bit of a young Eddie, that sort of all in. And he gets up on that dais. He doesn't prepare stuff. He just goes with the flow. He doesn't look at notes. And that's a bit like Eddie, I guess. He's very good on a dais. He's very good in front of a camera. He loves to look good. He loves to be the sort of front man and that sort of the centerpiece of the business. But also he's very all in behind the scenes too. I speak to him regularly, and he's always trying to work out where next to go. And he's bright, he's smart, he's street smart. But yeah, I suppose probably most like Eddie. But I think he's different. They're all different. They've all come up in different ways. None better than the other, really. They're all very good promoters. And I just think Izzy needs that opportunity, maybe to join the Saudi picture in the next year or two. And I think he'll get one or two fighters maybe that give him that move. And I think Turkey will really like Izzy. I don't think it's not difficult to like Izzy. He's a very, very friendly guy. He's very passionate about what he does, which I love. And I just like when I met him and he said, "Hey, do you fancy doing a bit of commentary?" And I was really ill still, and I thought, you know what, it's really nice of him to ask. And I went, and I was blown away by it. Really, we're back to the Magna Centre on December the 7th. That's where it started for me. I enjoyed it because the fans enjoyed it. It was great. As I said, the production values are fantastic, and everyone had a good ring walk, and there were some really good fights, and people went home happy, and they just enjoyed the whole show, and that's great. So I think there is an opening for more shows like that in Britain, and that's why DAZN have got behind GBM, and I think 2025 will be a big year for us.
Great stuff. Now let's whiz through a few broader boxing topics, as I'm sure you will have expected. Tyson Fury caused a few murmurs over the last week or so with his comments about Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. He was talking up his own chances of getting revenge over Alexander Usyk, and he described both Joshua and Dubois as very limited, saying that they couldn't beat Usyk in a rematch. Joshua obviously has had that chance, Dubois has not, but he will be able to. What do you make of that? Is he just trying to give himself a bit of more confidence?
Tyson Fury loves to entertain us, doesn't he? He's got a job on his hands. He's lost for the first time in his life. He's holed up and doing everything he can to get himself in incredible shape for a vital rematch. He's used to rematches. Remember John McDermott back in the day, where we all thought he was fairly lucky to get through the first one and did pretty well in the second, and then Deontay Wilder, wow, what a stunner that was when he came out and destroyed Deontay in that second fight. I thought that was one of the great performances still of Fury's career and of any British fighter away in America, in Vegas. So he'll be trying to do that. So all this stuff about Daniel Dubois and AJ, that's just all fun and games. We all know that Fury, Joshua Fury, however you look at it, is a huge fight still for the British public. And if Fury wins or loses on December the 21st, you can still make that fight with Joshua. And I think that's why AJ has cleverly just waited and not rushed back into a rematch with Daniel Dubois, because they all know that that's the big fight. Still, we've waited a long, long time for it. We never got AJ Wilder. A lot of other fights never actually happened, did they? But this is one I think that can still happen in 25, maybe even twice, maybe even one at Wembley and one in Saudi. So I think both Tyson and AJ know that, but Fury's just having a bit of fun, right? He's just got to get his head down, and I'm sure he is doing that with Andy and Sugar in the camp. I spoke to Spencer Brown the other week, and he said it's going fantastically well. And yeah, I think Tyson's got to concentrate on that. Will he be able to do it? Right? Will he be able to put another amazing performance on like he did in that Wilder rematch? It's some years later, and apologies for the phone
No,
in the
no worries.
background, Danny. I'll just look answer.
You're a popular man.
I think someone's got it. Sorry about that. Home life. I think look, Tyson's just got to concentrate on what's in front of him, and that is a very difficult assignment, working out the jigsaw, the puzzle, the brilliance that is Alexander Usyk. Why Usyk, in my opinion, is pound for pound king at the moment. What he's done has been remarkable. Can Usyk do it all over again? Can he go one better and even stop Tyson Fury, or will Fury utilize his size in a better way, more effective way this time? And I think try and sort of crunch him out there in the first 6, 7 rounds. I don't know. I think that's the best chance Tyson Fury has in my book, is to really take the fight to him and utilize that weight and that strength advantage, because the first couple of rounds Usyk was clever in the last fight, but he did have success 4-7. I think Fury, big success. So he'll be going back and thinking about that. But are his legs what they were once upon a time? Is he still the force, Tyson Fury, who's poor against Ngannou? Obviously, he lost the fight against Usyk, so it's all up to him now. And Tyson loves a challenge, and I think this is right up his street. But Alexander Usyk will be in impeccable condition as ever, and I'm sure he'll be very, very hungry to play it all over again, and to make sure it's repeat, and still be the number one heavyweight and the number one man in the world. So it's all eyes on Riyadh on December the 21st, and I can't wait.
And just on Joshua, if you were part of his team, would you be advising him to sit and wait for that Fury fight, regardless of what happens in December, or should he take another fight in the interim?
I think he should wait. I think Eddie's already said that he carried a little injury afterwards, and they probably won't bring him back till the spring. I said very early on to Freddie, to AJ, look, if you want my opinion, I'm on the end of a phone. My advice, if I was part of that team, is not to go straight back into the rematch with Daniel Dubois, but to wait, because let's see what happens with Usyk and Fury on the 21st. But if they can make Fury Joshua, I think that's the big fight, isn't it? Daniel will come back in February, maybe Joseph Parker or another, and defend his IBF title, and then maybe he'll look for the winner of Fury Usyk. But I think in the meantime, we can get a Fury Joshua fight in. I think so. I don't think he needs to have another fight in between. I think AJ's at the stage of his career. Look, it's up to him. He's very competitive still, and he's still young enough to come again and to fight anyone out there. But yeah, look, he had the Otto Wallins and the Francis Ngannous, and look, he wants to get into big fights, and I don't see what the point is in waiting around at this stage, really. It's either a Dubois rematch, or it's a Fury fight, or it's possibly someone like Wilder. Wilder wants to carry on, and people have got different thoughts about that. But it's a big fight, isn't it? I think that's what we want to see him in, or a Dillian White. It's a huge fight. That I don't think Joshua Fury or Fury Joshua. Again, I don't think it really matters whether Tyson wins or loses in December. That's still a fight that can be made. And I don't think Joshua needs a warm-up fight to get ready for that. I mean, he can go straight in. But look, I'm not there with AJ and Ben and the team every day, so they'll know what's best for Joshua, not us. But my opinion is that he's done the right thing, waiting till what happens in December 21st. I'm sure Daniel Dubois will be over there as well. Everyone will be trying to sort of bang on the door for the next fight, and it'll be up to Turkey and and the promoters to decide what happens in 2025. But I do know is that whatever occurs on the 21st of December, whoever wins, we're either going to get a trilogy, or we're going to get Fury Joshua, or we're going to get Usyk against Dubois. We're going to get it's going to be a fantastic 2025, isn't it? You had Eubank and Ben, which is bound to happen, and a whole heap of other fights, world titles around, and we've got we've got Yafai and Edwards this weekend. I'm with Carl Davis in Nottingham, who's one of my fighters for Summit. So it's really busy. December the 7th, obviously in Sheffield, and then there's other shows around that night as well. Lawrence Okoli coming up to heavyweight. So many things happening. Derek Chisora announcing his last dance, and I think 2025 is going to be even bigger than 2024, if that's possible, in what Turkey's done, because he's turned the boxing world on its head, and the landscape has just been fantastic. No one would have dreamt of getting the Bivol and Batabievs and Fury Usyk a couple of times, and AJ Dubois, and all these fights we've had this year, as well as all the trade shows, which I think there's been some absolute firecrackers. So I think the fans have really enjoyed this year. You've got DAZN now with the new Queensbury deal, and you've got Sky with Boxer. You've got Tasha Jonas coming back in a couple of weeks, another big show for Sky. You've got Channel 5. I was there with Sophie Alish last week in Newcastle. So there's so much happening. Plus America, which seems to be quiet, but there's always, big fights that are going to happen there. So yeah, I think it's a really exciting time for boxing, and I think 2025 is going to be absolutely fantastic.
Now, just before I let you go, you mentioned Beterbiev there briefly. Now, he's one of many names, including guys you know well in Carl Froch, Tony Bellew, who have been calling out seemingly Jake Paul. What does that make you feel, and what does it tell us about the current boxing scene that legends and world champions, current ones, are calling out Jake Paul?
I've been spending a bit of time with Lennox Lewis lately, and we've been having a smile or two about all this. Look, ultimately, it's entertainment, right? I mean, my kids know who KSI is. They know who Tommy Fury is. They know who the Pauls are. Doesn't mean everyone in boxing either knows them or likes them, but they're there, so we can't ignore it. Did I like the fight between, or whatever it was, the event between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson? Not particularly. It was, I guess, a chance for them to make a lot of money, and I have full respect for Mike for going through a training camp at 58 and getting in the ring. Did I like seeing it? No. Did it sort of unfold exactly how I thought it would? Yes. Didn't matter what combinations you see in the gym. The legs don't move and the body doesn't work. It was sad to see, but I'm glad that Mike got out safe, and Jake goes on. And of course, he's the money man in many ways, even though he is who he is. And I'm fascinated to see whether he can, become he's won most of his fights apart from against Tommy Fury. Has he been seriously tested yet? I don't know, but they all know that he's the cash cow. So whether it's Beterbiev or one or two of these guys out of retirement, I'm sure, Joe Calzaghe will be on the phone next. I don't know. If people want to make a lot of money, they want to do these events. It's not really my cup of tea, but ultimately it's going to sell tickets, or Netflix had a huge audience watching. So what was good about it was that we got to see Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano in an absolute barn burner, and you've got to see the Barrios fight as well. That was really good. So you're getting fantastic fights, and I'm sort of intrigued to see where the Jake Paul story goes. Whether someone like a Canelo or Beterbiev or one of these retired fighters is going to come back in. It's a story, isn't it? And I love stories. I don't know whether Carl. I remember when Carl was commentating with me, and Kell Brook was fighting Golovkin, and he'd retired by then, and he wasn't going to go back in the ring. And Golovkin sort of eyed him up after the fight, and Carl was getting all like, "Come on, then, I'm going to have some of this," and I'm just sit down and shut up and get on the mic again. So look, I don't know. These fighters, we love fighters, Danny. That's why we're in this business. And yeah, it's bizarre. It's mad. Should Carl Froch or Beterbiev or anyone be in the ring with a Jake Paul? It's crazy, isn't it? But ultimately, Misfits are going well. There was another one this week, and they're getting good figures, and the events are entertaining in their own right. I'm not saying it's like trade boxing, and I can understand why young fighters are irritated that maybe they're getting the limelight and all the money, but it's a business and it's entertainment. And I first sort of found out about that when KSI and Logan Paul fought in LA, and a lot of people were sort of eyebrows were raised even at Sky that we were doing it, but we did it. We went all in. It was fun. It was a bunch of creators, and and it was well matched. And I think that's the key, that KSI and Logan Paul were really well matched. And that's for me is important. We're working with Will Anderson, who's on Love Island from at Summit, and he's hoping to get into the Misfits action. I'd like to see him, and he's training every day, and he's really, really all in. And his brother's a Premiership footballer, and he's very, very into boxing. And why not? If he wants to give it a go, that's great. But make sure they're all matched at the right level. That's what it means for me. I don't want to see anyone hurt. I don't want to see anyone, which is a terrible match. And for me, it just didn't feel right. Jake and Mike Tyson, it never felt right. As a fight, as an event, the circus, the people. I love a story, but as an actual fight, I'm just glad it was in bigger gloves, sort of shorter rounds, and it was slightly controlled, and maybe Jake held off him, and that was good. But yeah, I don't think we want to see that again. But yeah, we just wait and see what Jake Paul does next, because it's going to be fascinating. But do I want to see Bateviev and Jake Paul? No, I want to see Bivol and Bateviev fight together. That's what I really want to see, and see whether Bateviev maybe could go up and challenge the likes of Usyk, and I don't know, things like that. Canelo going up, dream fights like that, more for the boxing connoisseur.
Yeah.
But do I like Jake Paul and what he's doing? Absolutely. I think he's a genius. I think he's dedicating himself to our sport, and he's chosen us and not table tennis or golf or cricket or whatever. He's chosen boxing. So we've got to sort of embrace it in a way as well, I think. It's all entertainment. And as long as you pick out what's right for you and you choose that, and the younger generation comes in and they don't just see Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, the sort of relic of Mike, what they do see is Katie and Amanda in an incredibly match fight at elite level. That's fantastic to see. So if we've got a few more fight fans because of that, happy days.
Great stuff. Adam, absolute pleasure. Hope everything goes well for December the 7th, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, it should be a fantastic card. Can't wait. Quartermain and Bates and Razor Ali. Really looking forward to seeing him and against Niall Berry. Cash Ashfaq and Levi Giles. Ed Hardy, look out for him, the farm boy. Always give him a bit of an up. He's an amazing guy. Amir Akbar, so many. So yeah, it's all happening, Danny, and we've got a busy weekend here. I'm really disappointed not to be in Birmingham for your Fine Edwards. What a fight! But got to go with Carl Davis, my man in Nottingham. He's going to come through in 2025. Watch out. Him and Sophie Alish. Watch out for the pair of them.
Brilliant. Adam, appreciate you. Take care, mate.
Cheers, Danny.
See you, mate.